The wind whipped across the empty plains as Eleanor stumbled from the wagon, her breath catching in her throat. Her fingers clutched her rounded belly protectively. The child within her shifted slightly, as if sensing her fear. "You'll be better off here," Josiah muttered, avoiding her eyes. His hands trembled as he reined in the horse. Eleanor could barely speak. "You said we'd go west together." "We did, but I can't anymore. It's too dangerous, too hard. You're slowing us down." He didn't wait for her response. With one flick of the reins, the wagon turned, wheels groaning as it rolled away across the sun-baked earth. She stood there, dust coating her boots, silence pressing in. The prairie stretched in all directions. No trees, no shelter, only sky, and heat and the cries of hawks circling high above. Alone, 7 months pregnant, abandoned, and miles from any town. She didn't cry, not yet. Her tears would come later. Now, there was only the urgent pulse of survival, and the faint, persistent kick from within her reminding her she was not entirely alone. Eleanor had followed Josiah from Missouri with nothing but hope and a knapsack. She'd believed his promises, a small homestead, land of their own, freedom. Instead, she'd found a man burdened by dreams he couldn't carry and unwilling to carry her when things got hard. He had grown distant as her belly swelled, less patient, more restless. She should have seen it coming. Still, being left like this, no water, no food, felt like a death sentence. She turned slowly, scanning the horizon. To the west, the land rolled gently into hills. Eastward, the wagon trail disappeared into heat haze. No sound but wind and the buzz of insects. She walked. 1 foot, then another. She had no plan, only instinct. Stay moving. Stay alive. For the baby. For herself. By nightfall, the temperature dropped fast. Eleanor huddled beneath her shawl, pressing her hands around her middle for warmth. The stars overhead were so bright they hurt to look at. Coyotes howled in the distance, and she prayed they wouldn't come closer. Sleep came in fitful bursts, interrupted by cramps and the sharp ache in her legs. Her mouth was dry, lips cracking. She whispered to her child, as if the words could shield them both. "I'll get us out of this. I promise. I'm not giving up." 2 days passed. Eleanor lost track of time. Her feet were blistered, her skin burned. A feverish haze settled over her thoughts, and the line between dream and waking blurred. She saw figures in the distance, men on horses, sometimes just shadows. She called out once. No one answered. On the third morning, she collapsed. The ground was cool beneath her face. She closed her eyes, ready to surrender. But then hoofbeats, real ones, voices. Foreign, rhythmic, musical, hands gently rolled her onto her back. A shaded face hovered above her, framed with dark braids and eyes sharp as eagle feathers. She tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. The man, young Sirius, pressed a water pouch to her lips. She drank greedily, coughing. Others joined him. A woman knelt beside her, touching Eleanor's stomach with reverent care. There was no fear in their faces, only concern, curiosity, strength. The woman spoke softly in Lakota, then switched to broken English. "Baby is strong. You are lucky." Eleanor blinked up at her. Who? Who are you?" The woman smiled faintly. "We are Lakota." And in that moment, despite the pain, despite the terror, Eleanor felt something she hadn't felt in days. Hope. Eleanor's body felt weak, but her mind was alive with questions. The Lakota people gathered around her with a calm that felt almost otherworldly. They spoke softly in their language, their voices blending like the wind through tall grasses, though she didn't understand the words. Their kindness was unmistakable. The woman who first spoke to her introduced herself as Ayana, a healer. She brushed Eleanor's hair back gently and placed a hand over her belly, her touch warm and grounding. "You are safe here," Ayana assured her in halting English. "We will care for you and your baby." The gravity of those words settled deep into Eleanor's heart. After days of despair and abandonment, here was a promise, not of empty words, but of action. The Lakota village was unlike anything Eleanor had ever seen. Nestled near a slow-moving river, framed by cottonwood trees and tall grasses, it was alive with laughter, song, and the steady rhythm of daily life. Tipis swayed gently in the breeze, smoke curling upward from campfires. Children ran barefoot, their eyes bright with curiosity as they peeked at Eleanor. Men and women paused their tasks to greet the newcomers, their expressions welcoming but reserved. Eleanor was led carefully to a small tipi near the edge of the village. Inside, Furs and blankets were laid out, the air warm and infused with the scent of sage. Ayanna set about tending Eleanor's fever with cool cloths and herbs. Though Eleanor was weary, she marveled at the depth of knowledge Ayanna possessed, healing arts passed down through generations. Rooted in respect for the earth and spirit, as the days passed, Eleanor's strength returned. The baby inside her moved steadily, a small miracle growing despite the odds. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in fiery oranges and purples, Eleanor sat outside the tipi with Ayanna. "Your people left you," Ayanna said quietly. "That is a heavy burden." Eleanor nodded, her eyes filling with tears she no longer held back. "I felt I would never be strong again, that I would die here, forgotten." Ayanna's eyes softened. "We all carry pain. But here, you have a choice. To heal, to be reborn." Eleanor inhaled the scent of burning sage, feeling the weight of those words. Reborn. Could it be true? Was this her second chance? Days turned 2 weeks. Eleanor learned the ways of the Lakota, how to gather wild plants, how to prepare food, how to move silently through the woods. She listened to stories around the fire, tales of courage, loss, and hope. Slowly, the walls she had built around her heart began to crumble. The villagers never pressured her, but their acceptance was unmistakable. She was no longer a stranger. She was part of something bigger, community bound by respect for each other and the land. Her baby grew stronger, and so did she. One afternoon, Ayanna invited Eleanor to witness a ceremony, a sacred rite of passage for mothers-2-B. The village gathered at the river's edge. Women wore beautifully adorned dresses, men brought offerings of tobacco and sweetgrass. The air thrummed with quiet reverence. Eleanor stood among them, feeling the eyes of the community upon her. Her heart pounded with a mixture of fear and pride. Ayanna spoke blessings over her, invoking the spirits of the earth, sky, and water to protect mother and child. In that moment, Eleanor understood what it meant to be truly seen, not just as a burden or a woman in need, but as a life carrying hope and promise. As night fell and the stars emerged, Eleanor sat quietly by the river, her hand resting on her belly. She whispered to her unborn child, a prayer woven from the stories, songs, and blessings she had received. "We are not alone," she promised. "We are loved, we are strong." The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Eleanor believed that maybe, just maybe, she could walk it. The days stretched on, folding gently into one another like the flowing river near the village. Eleanor found herself waking not to the cold dread of abandonment, but to the warmth of a community that had embraced her as one of their own. The sun rose, casting long shadows across the plains, and she would rise with it. Joining the women in gathering berries, roots, and herbs, each task taught her more than survival. It taught her patience, respect, and reverence for the land that now sheltered her. Ayanna became more than a healer. She became a teacher and friend. She guided Eleanor's hands to carefully pick leaves, explaining their uses with quiet wisdom. "Each plant has a spirit," Ayanna said softly. "We listen to them, and they give us their gifts." Eleanor marveled at the interconnectedness of it all, the way the people honored the earth as a living, breathing entity rather than a resource to be taken at night. Stories flowed like a river around the campfire. Elders spoke of the sacredness of life, of the balance between the seen and unseen worlds, and of the strength found in community. Eleanor's heart opened to these tales, feeling a kinship she had never known before. But belonging did not come without challenges. One afternoon, as Eleanor helped prepare food with other women, a young girl named Viaka approached her, eyes wide with curiosity and cautious judgment. "Why do you stay here?" Viaka asked bluntly. "You are not one of us." Eleanor paused, unsure how to answer. I don't know," she admitted. "I was alone. I had nowhere else to go." Viaka studied her, then nodded slowly. "We do not forget, but sometimes, we must choose." From that moment, Eleanor knew that acceptance would not come merely from proximity but from proving herself to the village, to herself. Eleanor set about learning their ways with humility. She learned to hunt small game, to track footprints in the earth, and to use a bow and arrow. The men, initially wary, began to nod in respect. More importantly, Eleanor began to understand the deeper lessons, the importance of living in harmony, of balance, and of honoring the spirits that watched over the land and its people. Her baby kicked more often now, a constant reminder of the life growing within her and the responsibility she carried not just as a mother, but as a new member of the Lakota community. One evening, while sitting beside the fire, An elder named Tatanka spoke to her quietly. "You carry more than a child," he said. "You carry the future. This land chooses those who walk with respect and courage." His words filled Eleanor with determination. She wanted to be worthy of this new life, this new family, this new hope. But beneath her growing strength, fear still lingered. What if Josiah returned? What if the wider world rejected her? In the quiet moments, Eleanor wrestled with these shadows, but the Lakota's steady presence was a balm. With every sunrise, she felt less like a castaway and more like a woman reborn. That winter, the village prepared for the sacred sun dance. It was a time of renewal and sacrifice, a celebration of life's endurance even through hardship. Eleanor was invited to participate in a smaller ceremony honoring mothers and children, a rite that symbolized protection and blessing for the coming generations. Wrapped in a blanket woven with symbols of strength and resilience, Eleanor felt the steady heartbeat of the community and the land. Beneath her feet, she whispered a prayer to the spirits. "Thank you for saving me, for giving me life again." And for the first time, she truly believed it. Winter came swift and cold, sweeping over the plains with fierce winds and a blanket of snow. The vibrant colors of autumn faded to stark whites and grays, and the Lakota village prepared for the harsh season ahead. Eleanor watched as the community moved with purpose and calm, their faces set against the bitter cold. Though she had grown stronger in the months since arriving, winter tested her resilience like never before. The first heavy snowfall caught Eleanor by surprise. She had never experienced such cold before. The icy air burned her lungs when she breathed too deeply, and the snow crunched sharply underfoot. The warmth of the tipi felt like a precious gift, and she huddled close to the fire each night. Careful to conserve her energy, the baby within her stirred, often sensitive to the chill. Ayanna, ever vigilant, prepared nourishing herbal teas and layered furs to keep Eleanor warm. But it wasn't just the cold that weighed on her, it was the creeping fear of what might come. The village elders spoke quietly of the winter's dangers, food shortages, illness, and the constant threat of predators. Eleanor listened closely, absorbing every word, determined to do her part. One morning, as she and Ayanna gathered firewood, a sudden storm blew in. The wind howled like a wild animal, whipping snow and debris through the air. Eleanor's hands trembled as she struggled to carry the heavy branches back to the village. She felt the weight of every step, the ache in her body reminding her of her vulnerability. But the Lakota moved with grace and strength, offering encouragement and support. "You are strong," Eleanor, Ayanna said softly. "You carry the spirit of the earth inside you." As the weeks wore on, Eleanor faced more than just physical hardship. Loneliness crept in during the long nights, and memories of Josiah's betrayal haunted her dreams. She often woke in tears, clutching her belly, whispering apologies to the unborn child she feared she might never see born. One evening, Tatanka sat beside her by the fire. His voice was calm, his eyes kind. "Pain is part of life," he said, "but it does not define us. You have been given a second chance. Use it well." Those words settled in Eleanor's heart, offering a flicker of light amid the darkness. During the coldest nights, Eleanor found comfort in the songs of the women gathered around the fire. Their voices rose and fell in melodies that spoke of healing, courage, and the enduring bond between mother and child. She learned the songs, feeling the rhythm echo within her. She also took part in ceremonies designed to honor the spirits of the ancestors and the cycles of nature. Wrapped in furs and surrounded by the sacred smoke of sweetgrass, Eleanor felt a growing connection to the land and its people. She realized that healing was not just about the body but about the soul. One afternoon, as the storm clouds finally parted, Eleanor ventured outside with Ayanna. The snow sparkled like diamonds under the pale winter sun. The village children built small snow figures, their laughter a balm to the soul. Ayanna smiled and said, "Life will bloom again soon. You and your baby are strong. You will see the spring." Eleanor looked down at her rounded belly and smiled through tears. Hope was growing inside her, just as surely as the life she carried. As winter slowly yielded to the first hints of spring, Eleanor knew that she had endured more than she thought possible. She had been forsaken, yes, but here, among the Lakota, she was learning what it truly meant to be reborn. Her journey was far from over, but the dark season had passed, and with it came the promise of new beginnings. With the thaw of the earth and the gentle warmth of spring, the village awoke from its long winter slumber. The snow melted away, revealing the rich soil beneath, dotted with fresh green shoots pushing toward the sun. Birds returned, filling the air with their songs. and a sense of renewal swept through the community. For Eleanor, spring was more than a season, it was a symbol of her own transformation. Each day, she ventured farther from the village, learning to read the land's subtle signs, the first bloom of wildflowers, the tracks of animals returning to the forest, and the soft murmur of the river swelling with melted snow. Ayanna continued to teach her the sacred knowledge of the Lakota, spiritual meaning behind the cycles of nature, the importance of honoring each stage of life, and the powerful bond between mother and child. "You carry the future," Ayanna said one afternoon, as they gathered willow branches for a cradle board. "Your child will grow strong here, in the heart of the earth's protection." Eleanor smiled, feeling the baby stir beneath her hand. The child had become her anchor, her source of strength. The village buzzed with preparations for the upcoming planting season. Men and women worked side by side, tilling the earth and sowing seeds that would sustain them in months to come. Eleanor joined in, her hands steady despite her growing belly. Though some still regarded her as an outsider, her efforts were met with quiet respect. The Lakota had seen her resilience. They had witnessed her commitment. One evening, the village gathered for a feast to celebrate the arrival of spring. Fires crackled, and drums beat in steady rhythms that echoed the heartbeat of the earth. Dancers moved gracefully, their movements telling stories of renewal and hope. Eleanor sat wrapped in a blanket beside the fire, her eyes shining with tears of gratitude. She looked around at the faces of those who had saved her, who had given her a second chance. Tatanka approached her gently and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have come far, Eleanor. Your journey is not just yours anymore. It belongs to all of us." His words filled her with warmth, and she nodded, knowing they spoke truth. As the night deepened, Ayanna pulled Eleanor aside. "It is time for the naming ceremony," she said softly. Eleanor's heart pounded. Though she had grown in strength and spirit, the ceremony would bind her to the tribe in a way nothing else could. It was a sacred rite in acceptance of her place in the community and a blessing for her child. The ceremony was held at dawn by the river, where the water whispered secrets to those who listened. The elders chanted prayers, calling upon the spirits to guide and protect mother and child. When it came time, Ayanna gently laid a hand on Eleanor's belly and spoke her Lakota name aloud, "Wa Pi," meaning Star Child. Eleanor felt tears slide down her cheeks. In that moment, she was no longer just a forsaken woman, she was a mother, a daughter of the earth, a part of something eternal. Days passed, and Eleanor's strength grew in anticipation of the birth. She reflected on her journey, the heartbreak of abandonment, the kindness of strangers, the challenges of learning a new way to live. Most of all, she cherished the gift she had been given, a new family, a new home, and a future filled with hope. The air was thick with the scent of blooming wildflowers and freshly turned earth when Eleanor's time came. The village had gathered quietly around the small tipi where she was to give birth, their presence a steady and comforting reminder that she was not alone. Ayanna and the other women moved with practiced grace, their hands gentle but sure as they prepared the space with warm blankets, herbs, and soothing chants. The rhythm of their voices mingled with the distant murmur of the river and the whispering wind, weaving a cocoon of calm around Eleanor. Hours stretched on, each wave of pain met with steady breaths and whispered encouragements. Eleanor's body shook with exhaustion and determination. The baby she carried, a symbol of survival, love, and new beginnings, was nearly ready to enter the world. Tatanka sat nearby, his presence quiet but unwavering. "You are strong," he said softly. "The spirits are with you." Eleanor clung to the words like a lifeline. As night fell, the moment finally arrived. With a final push, Eleanor felt the rush of new life bursting forth. The cries of her newborn mingled with the relieved, joyful voices of the women. Tears streamed down Eleanor's face as she held her child close for the first time, warm, fragile, and perfect. Ayanna smiled, brushing the damp hair from Eleanor's forehead. "You have given birth not only to a child but to a new path," she said gently. "You are forever a part of this family." The villagers came to see the newborn, offering gifts of beadwork, sweetgrass, and blessings. The baby was named Wa Pi Star Child, a beacon of hope in both Eleanor's life and the community's future. As days passed, Eleanor rested in the loving care of her new family, learning how to nurse, soothe, and protect her child. Though fatigue lingered, the weight of despair that once threatened to consume her had lifted. In its place blossomed something deeper, belonging. Eleanor often found herself gazing out over the plains, marveling at how far she had come. She remembered the day Josiah left her behind, the bitter loneliness, the fight for survival, and Now, the gentle hands that lifted her up, the songs that soothed her soul, and the baby who gave her a reason to keep moving forward. She understood that rebirth was not just about the body but the spirit, and that true family transcended blood and circumstance. One evening, by the firelight, Tatanka spoke to her. "Your journey has been hard, but you have walked it with courage. Your child will grow strong because of you." Eleanor nodded, a fierce pride swelling within her. "Thank you for saving me. For giving me a new life." Tatanka's eyes gleamed in the firelight. "We all save each other in this life." With the arrival of her child, Eleanor's heart was no longer heavy with loss but full of hope. The future stretched wide and bright before her, rooted in the earth beneath her feet and the love that surrounded her. She was no longer forsaken. She was reborn. Spring had fully returned to the land, painting the plains with vibrant greens and splashes of wildflowers. The river sang its endless song, carrying the promise of life onward. Eleanor cradled her baby, W.A. Pi, the star child, in her arms, watching as the village around her hummed with renewed energy. Her journey had been long and painful. But now, surrounded by the Lakota, she felt something she never thought possible: peace. The village had embraced Eleanor, not just as a visitor, but as family. She had learned their language, their customs, their stories, each day weaving herself more deeply into the fabric of their lives. She was a mother, a woman transformed by love and hardship, carrying the legacy of two worlds within her. The elders often spoke of balance, the harmony between the old ways and the new, between the spirit and the body, between loss and hope. Eleanor understood this balance intimately now. Her past was a shadow, but it no longer defined her. One morning, as the sun rose golden over the horizon, Eleanor stood beside the river with Tatanka and Ayana. The three watched W.A. Pi take her first tentative steps on the soft earth. "She is strong," Tatanka said, pride shining in his eyes. "Yes," Eleanor replied softly. "She is a gift." The child's laughter rang out, clear and bright, mingling with the birdsong and the whisper of the wind through the grass. The Lakota had given Eleanor more than survival. They had given her a rebirth of spirit and purpose. Through their care and their teachings, she had found a home where she was loved and valued. Her child would grow with the strength of the earth beneath her feet and the wisdom of generations flowing through her veins. Eleanor knew the road ahead would have its challenges, but she no longer faced it alone. That evening, as the village gathered around the fire for a celebration of life and renewal, Eleanor shared her story, not of despair, but of hope. She spoke of the kindness of strangers who became family, of the courage it took to keep moving forward, and of the powerful healing found in acceptance. Her voice was steady, her heart full as stars shimmered overhead. Eleanor looked up and whispered, a prayer of gratitude. "For the gift of life," she said. "For the strength to endure. For the family I have found. And for the promise that no one is ever truly forsaken when they are held by love."